Yeah, I think so. Hopefully,
Okay,
if you're seeing the slides, then we are all set to go.
okay. Let's start the
All
session,
right.
Kevin.
All right, fantastic. We'll do. Uh, what is up, everybody? My name is Kevin Whinnery, and I have the privilege of serving on the developer education team here at Twilio. So this is the team at Twilio that deals with our documentation and our developer enablement resources. And I lead a team, which I think is the most fun team to work on at Twilio, which is the Twilio Quest team. We work on the educational video game that we use as a developer education tool for developers that are just starting out in their career. And we also use it as a part of our live training program, which we call Superclass. So I would love to share with you some of those experiences that we've had with Twilio Quest, and would love to have a discussion with you after the sessions are over about how we do developer education and anything else that might be interesting from this session. And if in the chat, if some of you wanted to introduce yourselves, it would be great to see who we have in the audience. This is the part, if we were all together live in Japan, I might try to point out some folks in the crowd. But if you want to pipe in the chat and say hello and let me know where you're from, that would be great. I would love to see what faces we have in the crowd there. So during this session specifically, what I was hoping to do is to share some of the things we learned from building Twilio Quest. Building a desktop PC game to teach developers is not obviously a good idea, perhaps. So I wanted to dig into a little bit of how we got here and why we're doing what we're doing with Twilio Quest, share some of the results that we've seen over the years, and also hopefully tempt you to become a game developer yourself. We've actually very recently open sourced and opened up the tools that we use to build content for Twilio Quest. And we'd love it if some of you would try your hand at building Twilio Quest content as well. So when we started with Twilio Quest, we used it as a tool to deliver first-party training. And before Twilio, when I had delivered developer training, I used to do it in a very typical way where you would have some slides, you would give a presentation, then there would be some hands-on code activities, then there would be more slides, and then some more code activities. And in doing it this way, I was not really satisfied with how what the experience was for the developers who came. Some of the content would be way too fast for some developers that were brand new to the topic being taught. But some developers who showed up actually were pretty advanced. They had pretty good fundamentals in the topic area I was teaching, and the content ended up being too slow for them. So being kind of a huge dork, the metaphor of a role-playing game stuck out to me as potentially useful for doing developer education, specifically in developer training. Because what if attendees of a training event could level up at a different pace? And if somebody came to a training event and completed 2 or 3 learning objectives because that's all they were ready to do, that's fantastic. And I wanted to support that type of attendee. If somebody was more advanced and they could make it through 15, 20 learning objectives, I wanted to be able to support those types of students as well. So the idea of Twilio Quest kind of came about as a way to solve these problems. We presented all of the content of a developer training day in sort of a retro video game styled website where you could kind of choose your own adventure and say, I'm going to work on this topic first. And, in a self-directed way, you could kind of work through, the Twilio video API or the voice API. And you could kind of pick whatever topic was most interesting to you and, get as far as you could get in that topic during the course of a training day with support from experts that were in the room facilitating the training. And if you were brand new, you could do just a little. If you were more advanced, you could do quite a lot. And to sort of incentivize folks and reward them for making progress through the content, we also added some light gamification elements where, when you completed a learning objective, you'd get a little item you could equip on a virtual avatar, as you might in a real role-playing game. And this type of gamification of first-party training ended up working out pretty well. We had across our training events that we did, through the end of about 2018 to 2019. And then we also, use a similar system currently at Twilio. We maintain a pretty good customer satisfaction ranking with a plus 65 net promoter score, which is a customer satisfaction metric we use to measure the outcome of a training event. So we felt like we got a lot of wins from doing training in this way. We were able to successfully support different experience levels. Learners could focus on the things that were most interesting to them. So if somebody came to one of our training events and really wanted to learn about Twilio Voice, they didn't have to go through a bunch of content about Twilio Video first necessarily. So putting the learner in the driver's seat ended up being a win. And what we discovered was something that I didn't really realize how powerful it would be initially, which is how much folks love fake internet points. We frequently would have the experience of, I would take Twilio Quest to Best Buy corporate headquarters. And Best Buy is a big box store, a retailer chain that's pretty big in the United States. And they wouldn't let us leave until they had completed the last objective in Twilio Quest to get, the special hat that finished off the outfit. So we were really pretty shocked at how motivating these, these fun little elements of the training could be. But there are some places where even this iteration of developer training came up short. It was gamified, but it wasn't really a game. It wasn't something that, like the Twilio Quest experience in the browser as we had it, wasn't something you would do because it was sort of intrinsically enjoyable. So I felt like that was something that we could improve on. We also noticed that people ended up being a little bit paralyzed by choice. There was so much content in Twilio Quest, it was difficult to know, like, where should I begin? What should I do next? And the learning path through the content wasn't always super clear. There was also some issues we had around, like, the manual validation of, completing some of these challenges and sort of automating, giving people points after they had completed some of these code challenges. And then if you've ever done live developer training before, you might have encountered the problem of, like, getting local development environments set up. It just seemed like every time we went to a new training venue, we always spent the first hour and a half, like, getting somebody's Eclipse instance set up so that they could do Java development, or troubleshooting something with, like, the Twilio C# library, or installing the Node package or something along those lines. So there were some things that we wanted to address with shortcomings of this approach as well, which is kind of what inspired this current iteration of Twilio Quest, which is a downloadable PC game for Mac, Windows, and Linux. If you want to check it out, if you haven't already, you can go to twilio.com/quest/download, and you can download it for free on whatever your desktop platform is. And with this version of Twilio Quest, we really pushed in our chips on making this a game. We really wanted to start pushing in a direction where Twilio Quest was something that you would play just for fun. Like, even if you didn't necessarily need to learn everything about Twilio or right away, it was something that you might do because you thought it was a good time. So we added elements like non-player characters that you could interact with aboard the Fog Owl, which is a cloud exploration vessel for exploring the game world, which we call the cloud. It's sort of an embodiment of the internet as a physical place that you could explore in a ship like this one. And we also added in some of the gamification elements that we had before. So, as you make progress in the game, you get items that you can equip on your avatar, because we definitely knew how powerful that could be as a motivator. So we definitely approached, got to the point where we made Twilio Quest something that we felt was very close to a game. But the other thing I wanted to address with this iteration of Twilio Quest was this paralysis of choice, and using the actual game aspect of Twilio Quest as a way to provide guardrails and direction through the content of the game. So in Twilio Quest, you'll notice that there are different environments that you can explore, where we put the player in some kind of virtual environment like you see here. And there's an obvious path forward, right? So the player has walls on either side, and the only way to make progress is to move forward. And within the game, the two primary ways that we expose like technical challenges and content is as laser barriers and chess. And chess kind of represent like optional content that you can explore if you want to, whereas like prerequisites and content that we want you to encounter in order to make forward progress through the content, those are sort of represented as these barriers that you actually have to clear before you can keep moving forward. So using those kind of building blocks, we were able to figure out how to use 2D space to communicate intent about how the content was supposed to be consumed. In places where the content is supposed to be more linear, we were able to create a more linear path. But when the content did branch out and have some areas for exploration, that's when we could actually use the physical space to communicate to the learner that you can actually go in one of many different directions. And in doing this, we found that we had some interesting ways that we could start to plan out our content. We could say, at the phase of building technical content where we're in a Google Doc and trying to write out, what is it that we're trying to teach, we can start to map out dependencies like, all right, we know that in order to use the Twilio API, to send a text message, say, which is one of the most popular features of the Twilio API. We know that you need to first sign up for a Twilio account. We know you need to then buy a telephone number that you can use to send outgoing text messages. And then from there, we want you to, then you could either make a phone call or you could send a text message. And there's some amount of flexibility there. So we could sort of model those, branching learning objectives using 2D space. So that was definitely something that we got as a win from bringing, this learning experience to a PC game. But there are also other couple things that we ended up getting as a win that maybe we didn't even plan for when we started off on this journey. And that's, the ability to sort of take away the local development environment setup and a lot of the manual code challenge validation that we had before. Within Twilio Quest, we actually have an embedded code editor that's built on the ACE editor, which is used in a lot of online coding tools. And this allowed us to actually ship a full development environment with a single download that was sort of pre-configured to do everything that we wanted to do in a training scenario. And because that we were running on, our software is actually running on the computer of the learner, we were able to do things like see if they had checked out a Git repository or see if a certain tool had been installed on their system. And being able to run the code for the educational experience in their local development environment allowed us to take away some of those setup steps, number one, and then number two, to just have the flexibility to see that each student's development environment was set up and ready to go. And what we saw sort of over time with the taking this experience from a gamified tutorial application or gamified website to an actual downloadable PC game is for our live training program, we saw a massive improvement in the amount of learning objectives that every user was able to get through because we were able to kind of take away some of that paralysis of choice and also enhance how we were able to get their local development environment set up. We saw that at our live training events, people were completing almost twice as much content as they were in the same amount of time previously. So that ended up being a really huge win. And then the next space that we're starting to explore now is how we can use narrative momentum to create to compel people to complete content as well. So in the most recent iteration of Twilio Quest, there's a mission called the JavaScript Test Lab. And in the JavaScript Test Lab mission, you'll encounter a team of scientists in the Twilio Quest program that are experimenting on a rare element called ductypium. And as they're running these experiments, you'll have to go on some missions to help, find a missing password for one of the lasers that's being used in the experiment. But as science sometimes does, it goes awry. There's a major accident, and then you have to learn the skills of JavaScript to reverse the accident and save the denizens of the lab. We also have another mission called the Mysteries of the Pythonic Temple, where you have to kind of find the research notes of an explorer that was researching the ancient lost city of Python. So these types of positioning of the same technical content within the context of a story, in addition to being more fun to write and create, also showed massive improvements in engagement over what we were able to accomplish with just more traditional technical content, sort of laid out in a corridor format like it was elsewhere in the game. About twice as much engagement we see with people who find these story-based missions. We've noticed that ends up being the thing that helps them penetrate really deep into the game and consume quite a lot of content. So these are some of the things that we've learned in building Twilio Quest. We've successfully created a community where tens of thousands of players are encountering Twilio Quest every month and completing code challenges and maybe taking their first steps as a software developer using Twilio Quest. And what we're hoping to do is to open up these tools and start sharing these lessons with other people that are doing developer education. If you're looking for other ways to engage with your developer community to create content that's compelling, I would encourage you to check out the Twilio Quest authoring tools. And because I want to be sensitive to time, I was hoping to do a little bit of live code to show you how the extension authoring tools work. It looks like I might not have time to do that just today, but what I will leave you with is this documentation website, which is actually linked here on the next slide. If you go to twil.io /TQEXT docs, as it's shown here on the screen, that will actually take you to the documentation for how you can start to build Twilio Quest extensions yourself. And what I would suggest is watching this video walkthrough from my colleagues Ryan and Margaret to get a sense of how content authoring in Twilio Quest works. And you can actually use the production Twilio Quest game client to bring up the next version of the game, where you'll be able to insert your own content into Twilio Quest, and you can kind of see how all these pieces come together. You can look at how you edit the actual playable content and the visual structure of the maps. So I would definitely encourage you to check that out if you maybe wanted to take your first steps in game development or are looking for a unique way to engage with your developer community. So again, to wrap things up, would just encourage you to join us in the Twilio Quest Discord, which is that first link there, twil.io /TQ-Discord. That will bring you into our Discord community where you can talk to me and the rest of the development team about questions you might have about Twilio Quest content development. If you want to get started with the content development tools, I would recommend checking out that second link there. And Twilio actually has a major conference coming up in the fall. It's called Signal. And we're actually looking to showcase some great content that's built by other folks in the community. So there's a few other developer relations organizations that we've been working with to help showcase their content in Twilio Quest. And if you would like to be among those companies that is up on the big stage with us at Signal talking about the amazing content you've built for Twilio Quest, definitely hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Kevin Whinnery. I would love to see what you're building and help you get there as fast as you can. So I think it looks like we're gonna take questions at the end, kind of as a large group. So I'll save them for those, but I'll check out any questions that you have in the chat. So I'm ready to answer those. But with that, I think I'm gonna say thank you and turn it over to what is going to be a much more fun presentation. I'm already calling it from my colleague Liz Moy, talking about how to give amazing virtual demos. So I will toss it back over to you guys.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. I love games and I love Twilio Quest. Played with Daizen-san, who is evangelist at Twilio.
Yeah, Daizen's done a great job. He's starting to localize Twilio Quest in Japanese a little bit, so very excited to see that work.
Yeah. I heard it. So very exciting with me.
Fantastic. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, it was a very interesting session. For audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them after the third speaker's session is over. Okay, thank you again, Kevin.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you again.